Hello fellow comrades, welcome back once more time to the Habsburgs in Napoleon Total War. A few things have happened since the last chapter. I played a little bit in between the chapters. If you remember, we were in a very difficult situation with the Papal States. So pretty much what I did is that I managed to get the peace treaty with the Papal States, and finally I managed to take out the Italians. Now the Papal States are friendly. I just give them a couple of technologies in exchange for friendship and understanding that Habsburg monarchy is a Catholic monarchy. So apparently the Pope up to this point is very pleased with the talks, and we signed the Peace of Milano. Just to roleplay, the peace was signed in Milano, and finally the Italians that were here in Torino were defeated. This is the situation. We as the Habsburgs managed to take northern Italy. The other thing is that the Prussians are still at war with France, and of course we lost control of Prague. It was impossible for the general here. It was General Karl Mack that was here. It was impossible for him to reach in time, even though he's still part of a German nation, is now part of Saxony. So now the Saxons are in possession of Prague. So what we're doing here is that we have our armies here of Karl Mack, and we need to think what we're going to do with these armies. With this one, and we have this one with Andreas Hofer, and the one that is here in Innsbruck. However, we have the army with which we took Piedmont, and this is the army here, commanded by Ferdinand. Let's remember that we lost one of our generals in our battles against the Pope. I managed to deal with the economy. We're now back on track with the economy. And pretty much that is the situation. In terms of technology, I am now researching in Graz. I'm researching, as you may know, metric system, and I'm researching in Florence. I'm researching trade unions. This is going to give me +2 happiness in the lower classes, which is something pretty good that we need. However, it's going to take a little bit of wealth. Right now here in Vienna we are building a drill school so we can start recruiting Dragoons. And then we can continue with the technologies here, which this one is one of the most important because it gives us +1 to militia morale and decreases the recruitment costs for militia across all regions. Then this one for the replenishment, so basically field ambulances and conscription infantry tactics is going to be paramount in this tree. Now here, for us to be able to get the steam engine, which is pretty useful, and the mass production. Basically the steam engine, we are doing the factory here because the +10 wealth generated by industrial buildings is going to be very important for us. So that is for the, if you remember in my first chapters, I said that Olomouc, Moravia, was to be the industrial region. So here I'm building the factory, and that's pretty much what we're doing here, fixing this market here. So right now, I think here we're going to do a market as well. Market here could be useful. And in here, we could do a... This is part here of this region. This is a gunsmith is going to be very, very good, but it's going to give -1 happiness, which I will not afford right now. Here we can do the lumber mill. But before doing the lumber mill here, let me just go and think what I'm going to do strategic wise here. So right now we are at peace with the nations, but as you can see, France and Spain are still angry with us. So just to maintain the situation here, in here, for example, I will have to leave this army here. So everything that comes from Marseille could be stopped in here. So this is going to be the army that is going to deal with this part, with this frontier with France. Let me see, what do we have here? A commercial port, which is pretty good. And it all comes to the point in which I will have to see what I'm going to do with these troops here. So I'm going to send this guy here. This is the Grenzers. We have another Grenzers here, which I think they are going to be useful to be here. And with this guy, I'm going to send this guy here to the north. And let's see what we can add from here. Here we have 6 Liber, and here we have 12 Liber and 6 Liber. I think this one is going to be useful here. I'm going to send this one here. And pretty much that's it. I can send light cavalry or Hungarian hussars. Which I believe I would prefer. So let's see, how much do we have here? Okay. So now here on recruitment, we can recruit Uhlans. Uhlans are 167, which could be very useful here at this point. And then with this army, we can start moving to the north. And basically Hanover has been taken by the Prussians. I have to think in what are we going to do here. War with the French is going to be imminent sooner or later, so I will have to position my troops in a very good place. So let's see. Definitely send my troops in here. Let's see, how many troops do we have here? 3 troops. What about sending these guys here? So the Papal States are pretty normal here. We could invade Lazio, which is the homeland of Napoleon, and that could be a good idea, but I'm gonna send this guy here by the time being, and what I'm going to do is to concentrate myself on these technologies, and then I need to build a court of appeals to go for dialectics. Dialectics is the technology that we wanted from the beginning, which is very important, allows us to build very modern buildings and gives us diplomatic relations. That is going to be built in here. As you can see, it takes 10 turns, but we need trade unions, and the trade unions as of right now are going to take 6 turns. So basically we're going to wait for that. We're good in terms of economy, and if anything happens, we're going to attack Stuttgart, Baden-Württemberg, and yeah, Luzerne here. It's going to be a good idea, so perhaps it's going to be a better idea to send this army somewhere around here. Now, there's a situation, a historical situation, in which at the end Napoleon ended fighting his ally, the Spanish. Now, how do we turn the Spanish against the French? If we open negotiations here, we can see that we have mass mobilization. We could try this, but I'm going to assume that they are not going to accept just as of right now. So, as you can see here, if you see here, most of the minor nations are either very friendly or friendly with me, and here everyone is very friendly but Spain and France. So we need to turn Spain against France, and we're going to do that effectively with the technology. So now is a game of waiting and repositioning troops and stuff like that. So now we're going to see the movements of the AI. I'm going to press spacebar so the movement is quicker. Now the French declared war on Hessen. I was forced to break the alliance with Hessen. Hessen, as you remember, was my protectorate, but because of France declaring war, actually, let me see if Hessen's still my protectorate. Now it's not my protectorate anymore. Napoleonic France decided to attack the Germans here. Actually, they are moving against them here. And I was forced to break the alliance. The way I made peace with the French is because I returned them Hanover. I knew that Hanover was trapped in here, so anyone would go and take it. So at the end, I traded the peace with France, but I knew that Prussia was at war with them, so either way, they would lose Hanover. Then they declare war to these guys here. As you remember, we liberate them, and I was forced not to re-enter the war, because as you can see, my troops are now, they have difficulties with replenishment, and these difficulties were the reason I decided to make peace with France. However, we gained a lot. Even though we lost Prague, we gained Milan and Torino. Okay, so let's read this card, which is the Velour Mutiny. This card is going to explain a little bit of a mutiny happening in India against the British rule. So let's read this. The sons of Tipu Sultan, the former ruler of Mysore, recently instigated a rebellion of the sepoys against the British East India Company. This was at Velour in southern India. Although lasting for only one day, the mutineers caused 200 British casualties. Dissent amongst the sepoys has increased following changes to their dress code, banning facial hair and Hindu markings, and reached dangerous levels since several sepoys were brutally punished for flaunting the new rules. Under the pretext of attending the wedding of a daughter of the late Sultan, the plotters gathered at the fort in early July. In the dead of night, the fort was surrounded and the mutineers began killing its European inhabitants. By dawn, the fort was under their control and Fatih Hyder, the second son of Tipu Sultan, was declared king of Mysore. The mutiny came to an end when, alerted by an escaped officer, the Madras cavalry arrived from Arcot and gained access through the insufficiently secure gates at the front of the fort. What followed was a slaughter, with almost 700 rebel casualties by the end of the day. In the aftermath of the mutiny, the governor of Madras was replaced. The East India Company no longer interfered with the religious customs of its soldiers, and the practice of flogging sepoys was totally abolished. So obviously this is a time in which in several areas that are controlled by the colonists or the powers are going to start to resent the foreign control over their lives and customs, and this is going to show little by little the nationalism of many nations all across the world, not just in the nationalism that start to grow in Europe. Now let's continue here. Basically there's nothing else we can do, just to end the turn again. We have a spy there near Amsterdam. The French are fighting very hard with the British. Now the Prussians are begging us to join war with France. They're going to give us metric system trade unions, and they're going to pay us 860 if we accept this. We already have a military alliance, a trade agreement with them, which cause us to have indefinite military access in both directions. They have indefinite military access and we have the indefinite military access, but they are most likely begging. So now this envoy from the Prussians has this offer, which is very good actually. Metric system trade unions. They will give us a single payment of 860 if we join the war against the French. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So at the end, everything is timing in Napoleon's whole war. So this is pretty good. Metric system and trade unions in exchange for entering war with another nation. This is pretty clever. For now, I'm going to refuse. Obviously, the envoy is going to go and it's going to be a little bit disappointed. But first, I need to replenish my troops, actually. This guy as well is demanding land drainage, classical economies. And they asked me to break the trade agreement with France, and in exchange they are going to give me something that is very, very simple, which is diamond formation. So I'm going to decline as well. Okay, metric system. Ah, we already got this. Okay, that's good. We got the metric system, and now we're getting the abolition of slavery, which is something that I don't want. Actually, yeah, +1. No, actually, no. I'm going to go for perhaps this, which will allow me to go for joint stock companies and plateways. So yeah, of course, this is good. This one here. Ancillary gain. Andreas Hofer is now a Beau. And recruitment report in here. Which... okay. So. Let's see what is the situation. In here we see... look at this. This is an army full of fusiliers of the line and 6-lever horse artillery, which is very powerful, and they have the old guard here. This is a very powerful army. And Napoleon is here in Switzerland, which is going to be very difficult for us to attack Switzerland. Even though I have this guy here. So yeah, at the end I am able to reach here very quickly. Move this guy here. Okay, so either way it is not going to be a good idea to enter war right now. I need to replenish my troops. So let's see how the replenishment is going here. And I need to grow my economy as well. The replenishment is really bad. It's really, really bad. Even here, you see? Slow replenishment rate with this. Okay, now let's go ahead here and wait for this. This is the trade unions. Trade unions will allow me to give happiness and this thing here. Now look at this. Here we got somewhere around here. Was the metric system here? +2 happiness. This is the trade unions. So at the end, the Prussians... I think the Prussians are doing pretty well. I'm going to move here and see it myself. So the Prussians here, with this army commanded by Karl Ferdinand von Muffling, they have pretty good stuff here. So apparently the French have to fight against these armies here, even with this one. So it's going to be a very difficult situation for them. And I can move my troops here, as you can see, meaning that I can attack here. Very, very quickly. Okay. So let's end the turn here. We saw an army of Prussians moving here. They are advancing directly to Brussels. Interesting. So we built the market here, which is boosting our economy very, very high. So let's see, we know the Prussians have these trade unions. So why don't go with the Prussians and ask for something? Let's see, would you want, what would they want to break trade partners with France? Could be one. They have this. I can pay them. Let's offer 2,000 for trade unions. They don't want. Perhaps, let me see. I'm going to offer them 5,000. Perfect. They accepted. So I have the trade unions, meaning that I can go here and do the Court of Appeals, and then I'm going to be very, very happy to go and take the Dialectics now. What about Abolition of Slavery, which gives +1 happiness? Which is pretty good, actually. Pretty good. However, it's not realistic. The metric system was achieved here, so a metric system standardizes all weights and measures and attempts to link them into a coherent whole. Many measuring systems are age-old and based on some aspect of human physiognomy. Hence for measuring horses and the like. There are quirky relationships within measuring systems who would set out to design a weight scale that has 16 ounces in a pound, yet 112 pounds in 100 weight. A metric system creates arbitrary but scientifically derived units for length, volume, area, weight, and so on. One unified system can measure everything, and there is no complicated mathematics required, as only multiples of 10 are used. Adopting such a scheme increases research rates and allows further research in a number of areas. Historically, the French were not the first people to attempt a codified measuring system, but the work done by the French Academy of Science in the 1790s was certainly the most organized approach up to that time. Although officially adopted quite quickly, the public were not required by law to use metric measures until 1840. The metric system is now the de facto standard for all national armies, although many navies still use old imperial units like the fathoms for depth and not for speed. So there's the metric system that us in the modern world we already know. The other one is the trade unions. Trade unions, we already exchanged this with... We bought this from the Prussians. The working classes often have to fight for their rights, sometimes even the right to earn enough to live. Once the ideas of revolution, liberty and equality are mooted, the poor and downtrodden will want to know why these concepts do not apply equally to them. The growth of combinations and workers' organizations is inevitable in societies where poverty can mean more than just low pay, but starvation. Trade unions give workers the ability to negotiate with employers from a position of strength. The individual can be dismissed but not the whole workforce. Trade unions improved the happiness of the lower classes and enabled the construction of higher-level law courts. Historically, trade unions were illegal and widely feared by the landed and moneyed class in most societies. The idea that the poor would dare to ask for more of anything except a good horsewhipping was only one step away from armed insurrection. The British reaction of passing the 1799 and 1825 Combination Acts was typical, as was the deportation to Australia of the Tolpuddle Martyrs, a group of agricultural labourers who had dared to form a society with the aim of obtaining better pay and conditions for themselves. This is the notion in which the nobility is the old nobility of the Middle Ages are the guys that have the rights to have the money to ask for things, but the people is beneath that right. And then what is describing here, the card is describing, is this point in which trade unions begin to appear and people that work, they start to get rights. So this is a crucial change in modernity in which people rise for their rights. So we have now this guy here. This guy is still replenishing. We need a lot of replenishment. This thing replenishes. What else do replenish? 4% replenishment rates in all the regions. This is very important, and the drill school is not ready. And that is something that I really need. 2 turns for the drill school, and then 2 turns for this one, which allows me to go and get the wealth generated by industrial buildings. And then I will be able to do this and make the steam pumped iron mine. And here we have 10 plus 10 per turn to ton wealth in all your regions. Okay, we're pretty good right now. Let's see if someone has Abolition of Slavery here, in which we can clearly exchange. So here we don't have... actually, I can exchange with them this. Why not? Let me offer you this without this. We'll get this for 1,000. Now they don't want, so I'm gonna give them this and the payment. Ah, they want more. Okay. Now let's see if someone has the Abolition of Slavery. I really don't believe someone has that technology. Nope. And perhaps Great Britain, but no, they don't. Perhaps he can give me this one. No, they don't. Okay. So there we are. Of course, we can reach here the next movement. And let's see what they are going to do here. Okay, so let's end the turn. So basically the Prussians did not move, they are staying there. So let's move closer. They are already besieging with a huge force I see here. They have troops here, okay. Napoleon is still here. That's something that I don't like. I'm waiting for him to move away from here. Then I can jump into Luzerne. In here, we're still waiting that. Okay, we're good here. And now... And... What else here? We can... Okay, so here we are with this guy waiting here. The replenishment, we're still wanting to get the replenishment here, so let's end the turn here. This is the offensive of the French. And they took Brussels. Wow. And now I definitely can exchange Brussels to join the war if they are willing to give Brussels. That changes everything indeed. So we got the drill school and the factory. That's pretty nice. We can recruit now Dragoons. This card is the new card that we can recruit. Now this is the only unit in the Austrian Empire that has the old helmet. This is more elegant. And that's my personal opinion. Than this one that is not exactly historically accurate, because the historical one has this thing at the sides and it has a big plate here with the symbol of Austria, the double head eagle. But this is more commonly known as a shackle. That it was adopted later in 18, if I'm not mistaken, 1806 or 07, instead of this one. Okay, so now we can go for... This is pretty important. We can go for this. It's going to be very important, this thing. So I'm going to go for this. And, well, actually, this is more important. So I'm going to go for this. And let's see, what is the situation here? I don't know if Prussia is at war with... Let me see if Prussia is at war just with France, not with the Batavian Republic. Okay, let me send this guy here. And let's see what we can do with the Batavian Republic, actually. The Batavian Republic, can we trade with them? Yeah, of course. They are allied with France, but we can break that request trade agreement. And that's it. They accepted. Okay, so now the Batavian Republic is now trading with us. And let me see here. Still waiting for Napoleon to move from there. And here we're good. Everything is okay up to this point. So let's see what we can do. We need a steam engine here. So here we're going to need this. So we can exchange this from someone, perhaps the Prussians. Let's remember that the Prussians, they want us to join the war. If they have that technology, oh, they have this one as well, so we can get this for replenishment and we can give them these two. What about this? And I'm going to give them a payment of 1,000. And they don't want. So this is going to be something that I will have to think about, what we're going to do in order to get those, because it's going to be very, very useful for us to get this in an exchange with the Prussians. And then perhaps I can talk with them and tell them that I'm going to join war if they give me Brussels, and I will join the war, or perhaps just do the exchange. Who knows? Who knows what we can get from that diplomatic talks. But right now I think I'm going to leave it here. If you're liking what you're seeing, give a like and subscribe to my channel. This was Victus. See you in the next one.